All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It is Money Monday, the 30th of August, 2021. We only got one more day left of August. It's one more day. One more. I'm always reminded of Rosie O'Donnell from League of Their Own. One more. So we'll try to make the best of that we can. Red day today, not too bad of trades. Some scalps here and there, some other try and dip and rips on some other setups that we'll get to here in a little bit, but continually just grinding it out and finding our way in this crazy mess of a market. Currently what the market is giving us right now and what the market will give us in the future, and just even defining ourselves, who we are as a trader. It's totally awesome process, and I think just continuing to find more and more light at the end of the tunnel with each and every day, each step that we're going through and all this. So I love it. It's awesome. Market internals on the day. First off, SPY. Oh my gosh, absolutely ridiculous. Continually pumping out new highs. This was a pretty nice channel here too that Chris identified that I also saw earlier as well too. Even that's way off. Let's just do this. How about from this low? We got this little kind of bottom low here that anytime we sold off pretty hard, we would just find a little bounce to, and especially the same thing here. These are just so raw. That's so bad of a channel, but you can see here we kind of, even though a little bit of a parallel line here, we broke a little bit of the top of that channel today too. So interesting to see what we do in the next few days. I'm always just interested in SPY because it's not like it's the direct S&P 500, the SPX, but of course it's the most tradable thing as a representation of the market. And just curious, I have two of those. What's going on here? Yeah, just always curious in how it trades, and also attaching that to checking the ADD line, the tick line, seeing what these types of different things do, how they react to that. Just always interesting to me. So market internals for dollar volume, we just closed 10 minutes ago on the market. NASDAQ still under $200 billion dollar volume on the day, and I see just over that $200 billion dollar volume book. And OTC's pretty nice dollar volume, $2 billion volume on the day. Still not insane, but certainly not bad. If we want to talk what's bad, like Michael Jackson, but whatever. Coming into today, I had three, of course, a lot of big percentage movers on the day. A lot of tickers popping up on my mover scanner actually in the morning, which was nice to see, and of course, nice to go through. Usually having nothing to go through in the morning, comparatively. But on my main watch list was RGC. If we were going to get any bounce from this big, huge day it originally had, I tried for it that last Friday over the weekend. Thought this little spike here was going to produce something more, but ended up fading. Keeping an eye on it today. If it was going to attach or get any volume on the day and then squeeze some shorts hard. I know this is a super, super low float. It's got not a lot of history, but has a history. Its history says it can run crazy if it wants to. So just looking if any volume was going to come in. Of course it didn't. So took that off the radar pretty quickly. And then A was another one, keeping an eye on. This mover from, this was Thursday coming into Friday. Then I had a nice move into the close for the weekend. Premarket held decently, but again, not a lot of dollar volume. So I was keeping my eye on it out of the corner of my eye on my monitor just to see if it was going to test any of these previous high of days or test this $4 level if we were going to get any craziness. This one is the float on this one for reference is 11 million float. So definitely had the potential to be another low float squeezer. But again, nothing came of it. Did actually curl a little bit back to the upside, back above VWAP. So I'll still keep it on the watch for tomorrow if it does want to try again for that $4 level. Maybe today was just a little bit of a breather. But didn't trade it today. And then TCAT, this NFT sector, keeping an eye on that as well. Had some pretty nice 3 days here. And then, of course, a little bit of a down day-ish yesterday. Some sell-off on Friday over the week. So looking for kind of a red to greenish move, if you want to call it, going all the way back up to this 12.6 line. But, of course, always keeping with any sector that's hot. You're just always maintaining. And this, of course, being the mothership for all the other DPLNs and OCGs, the other NFT sector tickers. Just making sure, hey, if anything crazy is coming about it, I certainly don't want to take a backseat to it and just be talking about it in reference, having totally missed it during the trading hours. I want to actually experience them, be a part of it, get that firsthand experience in them as well. Trades that I did take, SPRT. Golly, I love these freaking tickers. These just put a smile on my face seeing these go so parabolic. This is what trading is all about. Just seeing these absolutely 100% crazy parabolic moves and continuing to take in both sides, both perspectives of the argument. Because looking at this today, okay, we're getting a gap up from a hard sell-off over the weekend, this last trading day of Friday. We get a gap up, which I was pretty much looking for and saying, oh, sweet, here comes the squeeze, right? We're getting this red to green squeeze. Shorts, any shorts here that are still bag, looking for more of a fade. Now they're kind of screwed, thinking, man, they're not totally all the way screwed. But now it's becoming iffy of, okay, longs may be looking to get back in on this. It's just seeing a little bit less in profits as compared to what you were over the weekend. That's just another little mind trick as well too, going into this, and especially coming into, you get a little perk immediately in this pre-market, not immediately, but you get the perk pullback that makes you feel a little bit more secure and saying, okay, we're back under review. Don't worry, it's all fine. And then we come into market hours with some strength, putting in some volume, and now you're going, oh crap. So now the emotions are just playing into all of it. Whereas also a long, coming from what my bias today was to as a long, thinking to the moon, right? This thing's going to $300. And in the sense of trying to develop a trading plan on establishing both sides. I love Chris Cadie's of Sangalucci's Market Masters. I think that's their course. But his perspective on it too, of understand that anybody and everybody who's looking at this sees something differently, and everybody's correct in what they see, and understand that just because you see one thing and you're identifying so many factors that lead to your thesis, that doesn't mean you're going to be right 100% of the time. And that also doesn't mean that the other person is wrong 100% of the time too. But anyway, getting into how I traded this, oh my gosh, I used to, with these big percentage movers, or when I was just trying to really chase a big percentage mover that was its first day, popped up on my mover scanner in the morning, I would just try to convince myself I was sizing in and protecting the trade. If it just started to squeeze in pre-market or just right away out of the open without me, then I could feel secure, not trying to chase it with a big position size, just feeling, okay, well, I'm in part of the move. But now I think I've refined that a little bit more today too, kind of in hindsight. I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but at this point here, we're off of the bounce, this little dip bottom here, consolidation under 36, and then you get the pop above. At this point here, I buy one share. Kind of falling in that same line that I was talking about originally, that, I'm just protecting myself, blah, 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 whatever. But in reality, looking at this type of trading plan, it fits my personality so well, because I just get into such a doozy when I see this pattern here. I see, okay, we got a dip bottom, you got a nice bottom wick on this red candle here. Now consolidation right under the 36. I think this thing can go higher. I'm not so convinced that I'm going to throw a full position size on it, that I think it's going to go directly from here to 10% or beyond. But I think to myself, okay, I think this could go higher. And then when it does go higher, like it did exactly here, and if it was a little bit off of market hours, or if it was within market hours, meaning that if it didn't have this variable of market open at this point, if it did go a little bit higher, start tracing higher, if I wasn't in at that point, I knew I would just be kicking myself saying, I knew it was going to go higher. Why didn't I just take a little position at least there or something? Blah, blah, blah. All these different things going through my head. Whereas now with this, even though it is just one share position size, I know that when it does start spiking and when it does start going to the upside, that vindication for me is there to say, okay, I'm collecting these profits. I am in the correct side. I knew I was right. And that's just even more of a motivation for me too, to say, when even more of a safety net as well too, I guess, in finding a better, or the actual position size entry point that I would be looking for had I not even taken any beginner entry point as well too. And if I'm wrong at this point too, okay, I'm down. If it drops, it tanks to 34. Okay, I'm out $2. Sweet. It's such a risk reward opportunity. I totally love. I didn't know I was doing it at the time, but looking back on it, man, that's such a totally awesome strategy that I think I especially want to start doing more and more in the future with these wide, volatile, big percentage movers, because it just kills me every single time that when I see patterns like this, or when I say, okay, this at this point here, this could be a good entry. I think it could go higher. But then it doesn't give me enough confidence to actually, I don't think the probability is there that it could just go directly from that point that I'm thinking that in my head while I'm watching the chart. But then it ends up doing that, and then I'm kicking myself because like, oh, I should have been in at this point, blah, blah, blah. I'm already in it. And that just gives me even more of that coziness to say, man, I'm already collecting the profits of it going up so much more. Now I can kind of sit back and be the retired trader or be that sniper to say, okay, well, when is the consolidation going to happen? What are we looking for as a pattern here? All right, okay, we're getting this little entry here. Well, I'll let it develop a little bit more, and sure enough, I can let it fade a little bit more. I can let it go, do whatever it wants to do a little bit more because I just have that little bit of knowledge in my back pocket. I have that one share in my back pocket, and of course, if it's not a $38 stock, if it's a $2 stock, I'll take a sub $50 position on size on it at least. Just that little nibble, just that little thing in my back pocket to give me that extra confidence and motivation to say, hey, you were right. You are a part of this. And if you have so much more range too, even as I'm developing more of a position size, now my average is better when I'm looking at it a little bit. But there's just so much more confidence. I love it. Anyway, now breaking down the trade a little bit more. Of course, I traded this on the tick volume chart that each of these candles is 100 trades because of this thing. What was our dollar volume today? $2.6 billion volume on the day, 610,000 trades on the day. That's pretty legit. So got one share here at this point. As we're coming back to VWAP after this little quick sell-off here, this is still the first minute right here at this point. Got one more share just as another form of protection, thinking, okay, I think at this point, as we're pushing with a little bit of strength right away in the morning, I think it could just squeeze quick. So I think the probability is better in that situation. Now I'm just going to add another one share position size because that's my estimate of it. That's my strength in the trade point. I think I'm saying that right. We get a little bit of a top here. This is so average here at this point is 36. So really 10% is 39. So we get to over a 10% move pretty much right away after that entry. Small little pullback that doesn't come close to touching VWAP, but then still bounces again. Here at this point, I'm thinking, and the reality of this and the whole time too with how this thing is run, I'm thinking profit potential is 50 minimum. Like I'm thinking 60, if we develop with strength, 60 is easy within the morning session. Easy. So definitely in no way, shape, or form was I just holding myself to a 10% profit opportunity with this one. And, maybe shoulda, coulda, woulda. If I had totally big, huge position size, I definitely would have been scalping along the way, but that would also totally alter my trade entirely as well. So then I was trying to buy one more share at this point too, as we found a little bottom and then consolidated a little bit more in this range here from 39 to 40. But I was adjusting my orders to, and it ended up actually being, this was a 10 share buy, which I was fine with, but it wasn't what I was thinking of what I was doing. But I was lucky enough that I was quick enough able to get a stop right underneath that if it just started to tank immediately. If it failed at this little bit of a double top here, I would have just been out for break even at that point. But fortunately enough, price action helped out with me, and we kept going. And this is another beyond 10% opportunity, even from the 39 to 42 level area. All these 10% tradable blocks here that I shoulda, coulda, woulda taken, all those, scalped them if that was my plan on this one. That's certainly not my plan with this one. It's getting greedy, you can call it that, but also giving it its due of what it can do, what it's shown in the past trading days. So had 12 share position size, and then ended up setting the stop at just above entry as it came back down, thinking we were going to break VWAP and just kind of tank a little bit more, maybe provide a little bit more opportunity later on. But I was just cutting it there at whatever it was at, just to lock in profits or save the mental capital there at that exit price. But we actually ended up not breaking VWAP. We put in a little bit more of a barrier here too. It's funny to see how perfectly this line is with VWAP. I just thought that was funny. So got another, I think this was a 5 share entry position size with a super tight risk reward or risk window to say, just putting it right at that VWAP line. If we're breaking through there, I know it's going to tank more because there's going to be a lot more eyeballs on that line of VWAP. Had some nice price action bounce off of that. A little more consolidation after this pullback. I put in another 5 share order with this nice run up continuation. And this, at this point too, I'm definitely thinking, okay, we got to lock in profits at some point just along the way. So this was 2 shares less than my initial position, but pretty much I'm dealing with it as if it was the same position size. Took off 3 shares a third of my position then at this kind of second. It looked like it was going to be another double top quick sell off, but it quickly reversed right back above that. Squoze out. I always say squoze for the past tense of squeeze. Squeezed out any shorts to just get this nice little area here. And then it was having trouble breaking this 43, so I took off a third thinking, okay, this could be another fake out. Still in the back of my mind thinking, man, 60 could definitely be in the books today. Still remaining 7 shares, but then sure enough, we did fall off pretty quick after that and broke through VWAP. Did consolidate a little bit more at VWAP. Maybe it did, if it lured in a few more people, it did have another squeeze attempt after this consolidation, but ended up dumping. Then we got, it was funny to see too on BBIG as well, that I'll mention in a little bit. These both kind of dumped at the same time. So it was just a few little fake out dumps here and there, especially this candle here right at the 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time window. Dumpage, top wick candle here as it tries to perk above VWAP. Tries to curl and tries to hold pretty well. I know Jack number 2, number 7 was definitely looking at this one as a short for the afternoon session. I think he was especially looking for this as a long right away in the morning. But certainly looking for it as a short, and it was just it was a tough SOB, as he put it in his words too, that this thing just did not want to die. It was holding pretty well, but then put in a nice percentage move to the downside, but actually reclaimed decently from that bottom. We put in the bottom at 30 here. We're back at 32 in this little range, and now it's still under VWAP, but closing decently. We'll see what the aftermarket does here going tomorrow. A little perk there right there. So we'll see what it wants to do in its after hours here and what it potentially holds in the next pre-market. I'll certainly still keep it on my watch list, especially with how parabolic and how far up we are at this point. Could go either way, but I'll be excited to see what it does. That was SPRT, little $10 win in total on that one. GSAT was the other one. So this was a huge percentage mover. 2.6 coming from 144. Is that just under 100% move? Pretty spiky. Just kept going and going and going in pre-market, and then sell off into the morning bell. I really didn't have my eye on this one for anything special. It kind of ruins the dip and rip when it just starts going so crazy initially, and then you get this sell-off already into market hours. It just kind of destroyed it. But even at that point too, I knew how low of a float this was. This is an incredibly high float. I forgot about that. I just knew the percentage move. I felt like I remembered this ticker as well too as a former runner, especially this daily is pretty nice too. Coming into keeping this one on the watch list for the next few days here too, especially looking at days like this. You get perk, nice green day, consolidation, little wedge here, and then another big, huge green day, consolidation. We're trending higher, higher, higher. Big green day, sell off, and this whole choppiness here. These few red days dip by. You can read into that daily as much as you want, this craziness. And I don't really know if this is as comparable to this type of trading style on those days because of the huge volume, and especially that it was red in a sense. But very interesting, and I think it's very different day than compared to those days. And trying to play the dip and rip, especially to come in on perfectly the 9:45 time frame. I was just looking to pick bottoms essentially. It did put in a pretty nice, of course, trading this one on the tick volume chart as well, looking for that consolidation. It did put in a little consolidation pattern here, but the trend still was lower the whole time. So I was refraining, saying, hey, give it a little bit more time. Did have a little try here, this like 214, 216, then it broke that one. And then we put in another one here that I felt more confident in, that it was just kind of a little fake out at this 210, 209. And then quickly kind of reclaimed and started testing this 215 again. This was a bit of a fat finger entry that I was watching at level 2 saying, okay, if 215 breaks, I definitely want to be in this one just to play for anything, any reclaim back to VWAP. And then if it does come to VWAP, then we'll just adjust from there. I'll 100% take profits, even though that's not 10% block at this point. I knew I was going to take at least half off if it did reclaim VWAP at that point, and then just go with the flow, see what it did from there. Of course, setting the stop right above entry if it did do that. But did fat finger a little bit, even though because 215 didn't actually break. And then, of course, had to cut at the low day risk, thinking it was going to go even more. That was just a hard red trend that whole morning, just hard selling this whole way through. A little bit of a perk, and then just bam, slammed the whole way. And then you get this channel to the downside. That did eventually, it was a little nice of a dip and rip on 2 minutes after I exited. Unfortunately, here was the actual channel. Then, of course, it actually does break 215. You get a little bit of a pullback, but it doesn't actually break the low of day. And then you get the actual pull to VWAP point and then just failed the whole for the afternoon session. I know Art of War was trying to get back in on this one as it was curling back to VWAP, but especially looking back at it too, this was just such a hard morning session. It's not like it had any real perk above VWAP during market hours, at least with huge volume, to say that it was holding well or that this curl back to VWAP, because even like looking at this VWAP, it's declining the whole time too. So what validity does that have to say, oh, well, it's actually holding VWAP pretty well, it's putting in nice moves, even though, of course, this is a nice 10% block here if you're trading it perfectly. Just tough and choppy and not a real VWAP hold in the sense of me too, because of this really tough morning session on that one. So that was $10 loss, I think. Nothing huge on that one. And then RGBP. This one on watch, of course, for the nice panic dip buy. I did not think it was going to happen originally in the few first minutes of morning trading. Of course, we're coming on this breakout level of 082. Either it could break out to the upside or we could see this panic like it did today to the downside. We got a nice gap up in the pre-market, but then it just started tanking. And it's certainly, I was watching this the whole time, saw the bounce and knew that there's no way, shape, or form I'm going to buy it here as a panic. This is not a panic at all. This was just sell off of the gap up essentially. And then it put in a little bit of a bottom, curled back to VWAP, and then we got this nice selling once again. It again, hard-ish red candles here that are selling off and pushing, but putting in little fake bottoms. Who the heck is buying it at that point? There's got to be some manipulation going on this thing, especially from what it was doing here for the actual dips later on in this panic. But you first off, I think going through this one by one on a candle. Let's move my face. Going through this one by one, so we're getting kind of rollover action here. Then you get this hard red candle that's bringing in more volume, especially looking at, this point here. We're getting, it's kind of fake out. The volume chart is faking everybody out as well too. That's not helping anybody at this point, which maybe should have, could have, would have factored into my decision making on potentially taking a trade. I only had like $200 left in cash to trade this thing too, which was tough. But I knew I wanted to be in this with the type of percentage move to the downside it was putting in. You got to at this point, just for the experience alone, and of course the profit potential, even if it was sub 10% profit opportunity. But anyway, panicking here at this point, going to 6.4 to 6.1. We get a huge volume candle again put in at this point that I think, my guess is, faked a lot of people out. I don't know who's buying this or at what point it was ever. It did look decent on the level 2, but it was just such a fake turn. And this is, was it this one? I think, yeah, this one was the 10 million or 1 million in one candle. Both of these, just huge dollar volume within those 1 minutes each. That were just huge fake outs. But this was, again, not huge down percentage move at this point, just continuing to just hammer those longs, panicking at this point, which is awesome. We want to see. We get another little continuation of that down move, but it does put in a nice bottom wick at this point for a fake out. So I'm thinking, okay, I think it's down pretty decently. I think this could be the bottom here too. I'm looking on the more of a 10-minute, 30-minute too, looking for any levels of resistance, and we've got this. This is what I was identifying as a potential level of supports. This like 5.7 to 5.9. Then the next one maybe around this like 5.02 to 5.1, 5.52, right? So keying in on any of those areas if they were going to provide any amount of support as a turn area. And we're kind of hovering around there during this point of that previous one. So then I say, and then again, looking at just the volume within this 1 minute. Let's do right there. This is that 1 million candle, $1 million volume candle. I was thinking, man, I'm going to kick myself if I'm not in this one, just seeing that this huge volume's coming in. We're getting a green candle at this point. It's turning. I should certainly at least try it. So I put in 5.7 order as it was trading at like 5.5, and I got filled super quickly and immediately got printed top tick. Again, looking in hindsight on both of my entry and exits. I got freaking top ticked and bottom ticked for the entry and the exit, which was a little frustrating looking in hindsight, but it was just confusion the whole time I was in it. So as we get this little bit of a sell off, immediately as my entry is at 5.7, it was already back down to 5.5, 5.4. And I was like, oh, that's not the most convenient, but I knew it wasn't over because it still wasn't panicking at this point. And I was expecting it to be just either a super slow bounce, because we're also a pretty decent way from VWAP at this point as well too. Just either expecting we hold a little bottom here, kind of a fake out of a 5.4 bottom that had a little bit of leniency, but then it did. This was just I think this was a quick misprint that ended up hitting back and forth super quick. That wasn't actually a real panic down. So expecting this to kind of bottom out. And then, of course, as it was just continuing hitting the red, hitting those bids, I said, I do not want to be in this. And I switched over to the order entry window actually through Thinkorswim. I was not going to mess with that active trader window again on these OTC dip buys. That had just ruined me so many times in the past on these ones. So I, again, was able to get out at the bottom tick, but able to get out pretty decently, that's good repetition for me to see as well too, especially using that order entry window instead of messing around with stupid Thinkorswim system. It's just so frustrating, the limits and the stop orders, how that works. So stupid. But still, still wasn't breaking down, panicking at this point. But then again, in the next few minutes, did put in some more hard red selling. Then you get this huge, like this minuscule green candle looking right here, but then this 40 million volume candle at this point. That isn't the actual bottom. Again, so confusing, but that is what would end up becoming. This is what I thought it was going to do here at this point too. You get this whole round area of 4.6 becoming a potential area of a bottom, and especially coming off of this huge volume candle saying, okay, this is a big area of support or resistance, whatever you want to call it, that it's going to do, but it still breaks that point, and then it comes back above, and it's just weird. So good experience, and then again faded a little bit more. Maybe get a little bit more panic or gap down going into tomorrow for where it is on the daily, especially too. That's an awesome red candle. But that was interesting. Great experience to be a part of, and I was just totally excited by it the whole time. Of course, as it's coming on each of these levels, the bid is still at 6, I'm going break, 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 break. And then broke 6. So just exciting to be a part of, and smile on my face the whole time too. Even while I was in the trade, I know it's just frustrating, and that's the game when you're trying to buy a dip and the dip keeps dipping and you're just like, please save me, please stop, please. It's part of the role, and it was exciting. And we'll see if any of these OTCs actually produce any nice dip bottoms here coming up, if we get more parabolic OTC high percentage movers. Again, the last one was DPLS, I think, from a long while ago. That was even more midday too. But I feel like RGBP in the past produced some nice dip buy opportunities, even all the way down here on this red side from this month of April. Earlier in 2020 as well too. I guess not. But again, good experience on that one. Other tickers I want to mention, BBIG. Of course, this is the one that I mentioned from Friday that I just knew it in my bones. This former runner could do something big. Then you get a big gap up in this pre-market, sell off, pull into the open, back to VWAP, and then just chops around, puts in tops, puts in bottoms, both ways. It's still defining what it wants to do, and then you just get this big dump and sell-offs. This is a halt here at this point. Was this another one? No, but again, like I mentioned with SPRT, these both or exactly at the 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time frame. These both dumped pretty hard, which was funny to see that those both did that at the same time. Sold off pretty hard. We'll see if it wants to go red to green going into tomorrow. That could be a pretty nice opportunity. Maybe touch these breakout levels again from the past too. I'll certainly keep it on watch on what it wants to do, if it brings in continual volume or if it just wants to dump to the short side. Maybe look at it as a short. It could be, keep my perspectives open for both ways. TAOP was the other one I wanted to mention. This is the freaking ticker, TAOP. Oh my gosh. Again, pumps out just a stupid random news release. TAOP signs mining card purchasing agreement for additional whatever computing power of Ethereum mining. Gets you a 10%, just barely nudges you up enough. Of course, not with a huge amount of dollar volume or even volume. in general. It just gets you to just like a little bit of elevation, enough to get short, but it's not enough for me to feel confident in it, especially not having a lot more market wide to get for this morning dumps type of trade that I want to be a part of. But still, you do 3.6, 3.55. You're getting a pretty nice dump right away to cover into for, the size that I think most of us are trading, of just that nice little quick 10% move that just rinse and repeat again and again. Similar on this day too. Oh, shoulda, coulda, woulda pulled the trigger on it. But I was only screwed out once on this one. But it still leaves a mark on me in a way too. It's like those monkeys, that example of the monkeys in the laboratory where they had the ladder in the middle of the room and then the bananas on the top. And anytime one of those monkeys tried to go get the banana, that they all got squirted. And then they all knew that you can't climb the ladder because then you get squirted if you try to climb the ladder. And then they switched out all the monkeys one by one. And then at the end of the whole thing, it was a whole new batch of monkeys, and none of them had ever attempted to actually climb the ladder. But they all knew that you couldn't climb the ladder for some reason because that's just what they were taught. That's a super long example that just came to my mind out of nowhere. But that's what I think on this one. Just the one time that I got stopped out or just played around, I think actually 2 times that I did get stopped around on TAOP. Just get that little hesitation and pushing the button on trying to play just a quick little move. That's all I'm looking for, is just that quick little predictable move to the downside. And that's what it did today. It's just teasing me. It's teasing me with a little string in front of me. ANY, another one. Just a breakout, nice move to the upside today. We're coming on this little cupish pattern here. Once again, nice green volume days being put in. Pre-market holding up decently, but had to be looking at this one on the scanner in market hours for what volume it was putting in. And then we come up on, so 6.4 was the level, right? Yeah, the 6.4, 6.5 level. And that's what it kind of topped at. Here we get a nice perk immediately right to that 6.4-ish level here. Then it pulls back, breaks VWAP actually, but then comes back, consolidates, and starts pushing higher. This could have been a good entry point here if we're watching it super hard at that point, or especially with strength if you're just looking to scalp it immediately to that point, and then having the risk reward or risk tolerance to just let it breathe a little bit and come in with huge volume to the upside and slamming shorts who are trying to play it to the downside off of this kind of double top, triple top-ish from that other previous daily candle as well. Slam, nice percentage move to the upside on that one into a halt. That was a good one to see, and this one is on the watch list as well too for tomorrow, to see if it does want to continue anymore or if it does put in a little more downside. Float on this one is decent as well too, I thought. Canadian software company, yeah, 5.8 million float. So we love those low floaters on what they do. Of course, it's super choppy, and like I mentioned, you can see it as well too, identify it here. You got to maintain a little bit more that risk tolerance or be able to withstand a lot more fluctuation in it a little bit, especially as it's cracking VWAP here, but still holding, consolidating. Different entry points, different exit points, different ways to play it, but I think opportunity could be there if volume comes in tomorrow on the watch list. Other ones on the watch list, like I mentioned, NNA, I'll keep an eye on if volume starts coming because it certainly didn't die off, and it's curling back above VWAP, holding decently, not a lot of volume, if any, coming into this after hours. But we'll see what it does in the pre-market tomorrow. And then FULC, I'm just keeping an eye on this one as a short. If it just wants to panic at any point, it is a listed. It's not like it's going to OTC dip by hard because it does have to halt at some point too. But especially coming off of the offering around the 17th, 18th, it's still spiking up. And this thing is just, this is a terrible, sketchy company again, but we're just in this still nice uptrend. Maybe it's just a baby of the SPY and it just doesn't ever go down. That could be it too. Just keeping an eye on it that way. But yeah, maintaining an eye on it. That's all I had today. $25 down day, nothing serious when factoring in OTC fees, I think, on RGBP. So great learning lessons, and continually, I think the biggest thing that I'm taking steps in every single day is just the mental side of it too, and understanding that, man, it doesn't matter what other people say, what else is going on around the markets. It's just everything that's going on in your head, and maintaining the positivity while also living in reality and truth of where you're at and understanding every side of it. It's just so awesome. I thank you guys for watching. If you guys have made it this far in the video, in the 35-minute video, on a guy that lost $25 today. Please leave a like and subscribe. I thank you so much for watching. And I will catch you guys on the next one.